What up YouTube? How are you feeling today? Hope you're doing great, hope you're doing fantastic. Back with another Division 2 video and back with another banger of a build, guys. Yes, this is my Lone Wolf build. This is the Armor Regeneration crit build. Gives you a high survivability and a decent amount of weapon damage to still take out your enemies. This is a lot of fun, and a lot of you asked me as well to make a build that has a little bit more survivability and not only straight to the full red cores. Y'all know I love my red core builds. I will almost always run around with red core builds, but this is so much fun to play with as well, guys. Definitely try this out. Mur, aka Prof, asked me to make this build, so we worked it out on stream. We tested it out yesterday and the day before, and in our opinion, this is one of the best setups to have. To have that insane survivability and of course still do a decent amount of damage taking out your enemies. You can run around within control points, you can run around within missions, you can run around in countdown, you can run around in every single thing that the game has to offer, and this will definitely help you out. This gives you a lot of survivability. As always, I'm gonna show you a little bit of gameplay. I'm showing you Lincoln, I'm showing you a CP, and I'm showing you a little bit of countdown. So this build works solo, but also works in a group with countdown. And as usual, with the countdown gameplay, I will not have extra boost active. So the close range and the long range buff aren't active. So this is just straight up the damage output that you can expect from this build when you play on countdown. And this is just the base. If you're playing countdown and you're getting those boosts, man, this build is freaking unstoppable. But enough intro, guys. Let's dive right into the gameplay, and then of course after that into the build. Enjoy!
Hostiles detected. Heavily armored hostile detected.
My armor's wrecked! Fuck the division!
Outpost. The True Sons will be a direct threat to the campus.
Let's do it! take this fucker! How's that fucker? Alright.
No line of sight on the enemy. This is it.
Immediate medical assistance needed.
Caught up here! Oh shit! Target close! Gotta keep going.
He's gone. He's gone. We're getting flanked. This is ours. Take this. Gonna blow you away. We lost. Right on top of me.
Serious trauma detected.
Unloading.
Division? Be careful. We lost.
You hear that noise?
I see you. Get down. Wake up! You're blank! Watch yourself! You lost one! Damn it.
Right.
We got one down. Eyes on enemy.
Control center. That should keep them from being able to transport those mortars loaded with DC-62.
Immediate medical assistance needed.
Yeah.
You're not going in. Someone's down. I'm getting crowded.
And there we are, guys, at the build breakdown. Of course, starting with our specialization, we are using the gunner specialization. Why? Mainly because we get 10% armor on kill. It's very, very useful, especially running around with 1.5 million armor. So we're close to that 150k armor a kill. And this helps out the survivability a lot. Of course, next to that we have that armor regeneration. Next to that's pretty nice to have a third reload 50% faster. And of course the medkits repair 100% plus an extra 30% bonus armor for 10 seconds. This can help out quite a lot, although I'm not using that much armor kits anymore because we have an insane survivability, of course, with all the armor regeneration, the crit, and then of course the armor on kill as well. And then of course next to that, don't forget to stack into the weapons that you're using. We are running around with an SMG, so I of course went to SMG. Boosted it up so you can get an extra 15% on your tree. We are switching builds up quite a lot, so make sure that you always have the right gun equipped and then of course boosted throughout the specialization tree. But enough about the specialization, let's jump over to the skills. And of course, like almost always, because this is a lone wolf build, you can play with a group, of course, like you saw in the gameplay with Countdown, but you can solo play with this build. This is a lone wolf crit survivability build, however you like to call it, so I'm still rocking that revive hive. I chose for the 10% armor repair on there, the 5% range and the 10% health as the mods. Next to that we're running the chem launcher and then of course the foam launcher. Why? Because if a group of enemy spawns, you can just trap them. Or of course trap the strongest enemy, trap him first and then take out all the enemies around him. Pick up those trophies and you will get that long-term buff, but also that short-term buff. That short-term buff, of course, gives you a little bit extra survivability and, of course, important enough, the damage output, so you can take out the little bit more tankier enemies. This is why I use the chem launcher, just to trap the people. We have 3 ammo pellets in there, because, of course, we have 1 extra skill tier. We have the 9.8% in share duration as a mod and the 1 extra ammo. And that's why we have 3 pellets for our riot foam. But let's jump over to the guns that we're using. And starting of course with my main weapon, we are running around with the Lady Death. Yes, on this build it's so much fun. Just running around, sprinting around, being fast AF, and this is so much fun. This has a base damage of 86.5k, but this is without any of the procs on the build. Of course, it's all maxed out. I have it on expertise level 14, so we're getting an extra 14% weapon damage. And why the Lady Death? Because we have that breathe free talent. When moving, gain 4 stacks per second, or 8 stacks if sprinting, up to that 32 stacks in total. We have a mag of 32, so the full mag will be amplified by 75%. Every single bullet you fire will be amplified by 75% if you have the total stacks of 32. And next to that, every single kill will grant you a 20% movement speed for 10 seconds. And this helps a lot. Just sprinting away, making sure that you survive, running around, reloading again, or just running around to get that armor regeneration in, or picking up, of course, the trophies for that extra survivability. It is a very, very nice gun to use. I'll definitely go for this gun on this build. Then over to the Kingbreaker. This is my secondary. I only use this gun if they are too far away from me. If they are upstairs, for example, we cannot go through the door, but we need to take some people out. Some missions have that. You need to shoot people that are elevated from you. Then the Lady Death isn't that great, so I went with the Kingbreaker. I only use this Kingbreaker whenever somebody is elevated above me. I can't reach them. I can't get close to them, so I will use the Kingbreaker on them. Of course, everything maxed out. Also on expertise level 14, an extra 14% weapon damage. That's why this gun hits for 116.9k on this build. And then of course went for the attribute damage to target out of cover. And the Kingbreaker of course has perfect flatline. It doesn't really help you out when you run around solo, but when you run in a group, in countdown or in missions, a lot of y'all are still running around with pulses or of course with the new Heartbreaker gear set. This will pulse the enemies and will activate that perfect flatline, giving you an extra 20% to amplified enemies. So then next to that I chose for the TDI card custom. Why? Because I'm never using pistols. This is just to activate my pistols, just to put a pistol on there. If you don't have all your pistols proficient yet, choose a pistol that you don't have proficient yet. Put it on all your builds, and if your pistol is proficient, then switch over. This is just straight up the easiest way. You don't have to farm for the pistols. You don't have to spend materials for the pistols. This is just an easy way to do it. It's a bit slow, but this is the way to just boost up your pistols without farming for it or of course donating materials. But let's jump over to the build. Starting with my mask, I'm working with the Bellstone Armory. Why the Bellstone Armory? Because one Bellstone Armory already gives us that 1% armory generation, and this is a crit armory generation build. So full up in armor, 170k, I went for 12% critical hit damage, maxed out that armory generation of almost 5k and went for 12% critical hit damage mod. For my knee pads, I went for the named Murakami knee pads, and this is such a beautiful roll, guys. 1% armory generation will always be on there because it's the Emperor's Guard knee pads from Murakami. And then I found it with armory generation on there, optimized that. So I had the opportunity to roll the skill core wave for weapon damage. You can go for weapon damage or you can go for an armor core, but I still like to do some damage. We have that close to 1.5 million armor on this build already, so I don't really need an extra armor core. That's why I chose for that weapon damage. The skill duration doesn't really matter, we're doing it for that 1% armory generation that always comes with these knee pads. And then over to my golem gear. Yes, we're using 2 pieces of golem gear. Why 2 pieces of golem gear? Because the 2 piece will give us an extra 1% armory generation. So with all the pieces that I just showed you, we will already get 3% armory generation in. And that's a second, guys. So that's 3% of my total armor of 1.5 million every single second. Of course, again, I went for an armor core, armory generation on there maxed out, and I went for a critical hit chance on there. Always try to work towards that 50% critical hit chance. This build is a little bit under that 50% critical hit chance. I would love to get it a little bit higher, but normally I always work towards that 50 to 55% critical hit chance before stacking into critical hit damage. Then over to my second piece of golem. And these are the gloves. Again, exactly the same. Went for maxed out armor, optimized that armory generation and rolled that critical hit damage on there to get as much armory generation and as much damage output as possible. Then over to my chest, I went for Sokolov. Why Sokolov? Because we're running around with the Lady Death. We're getting an extra 10% SMG damage. I have it fully maxed out. I have 15% weapon damage, 12% critical hit damage, 10% headshot damage and a 12% critical hit damage mod. In the perfect world, I would love to see that headshot dabbing turned into critical hit chance. So I definitely reached that cap of 50 to 55% critical hit chance. I didn't find it yet, and I just went for a little bit more critical hit damage. Only on this build. All my other builds are near to that 50 to 55% critical hit chance. Then over to the talent, I chose for Obliterate. And why Obliterate? Because we're running and gunning. We're always close. We have a high crit build, so this Obliterate talent works wonders. Critical hits increase the total weapon damage by 1% for 5 seconds, and this stacks up to 25 times. So we're getting an extra 25% weapon damage in if you reach all the stacks, and this goes pretty fast. You will only need to hit 25 critical hit shots to get the max out of that obliterate. We all know a lot of enemies are always close to each other, and that's again very, very nice that we have our foam. If they come out of a door, if they come out of their spawn, or if they are grouped together, just fire that foam in the middle of that group. They are all trapped, so you can pick them apart. Then of course always go for the lowest enemy or the red bar, take him out, and then just switch over to all the other enemies. Obliterate will proc so freaking fast, and you will do an extra 25% damage. Next to it, of course, an extra 75% amplified damage from Our Lady Death. And then over to the backpack, and of course we are using the Memento backpack. Like you saw in the gameplay, everybody recognizes this backpack. And why are we going for the backpack of the Memento? Even on countdown, this still does a decent amount of work. You will not always have the max stacks, but we're doing this mostly for the armor regeneration. Of course, an extra damage output for the long-term buff is very, very nice, especially if you have it on max stacks. I will show you the stats when we're going to the base stats and then the boosted stats, because this helps you out a lot. An extra weapon core, an extra armor core, and an extra skill tier. That skill tier will of course help us out with our hive, but mostly will give our cam launcher, our foam launcher, an extra pellet. That 15 weapon damage of course helps out, and that armor core boosts our armor towards that 1.5 million. I went for a critical hit damage mod on the backpack. Then over to the talent. We all know the talent, but for everybody that doesn't know the talent, you are running around and picking up trophies. Every time that you take out an enemy, a trophy is dropped, and you will get a short-term buff and a long-term buff. The short-term buff will work for 10 seconds and will give you a boost of 5% weapon damage, 10% bonus armor, and or 5% skill efficiency per core that you are using. We are running around with 3 cores of weapon damage, so every time we pick up a trophy, the short-term buff of 10 seconds will give us an extra 15% weapon damage. Next to that, we're running around with a 4-core armor, so every time that we pick up a trophy, we're getting an extra 40% bonus armor. That's 40% of 1.5 million armor. So we're getting close to that 600 to 700k armor every time we pick up a trophy. So this is very nice. This helps your survivability out a lot. And of course, when that bonus armor is on your build, the enemies will hit that bonus armor. The armor regeneration of course kicks in and helps you get to that full health again. And of course every time we pick up, we're getting an extra 5% skill efficiency because we have 1 skill core from of course our Memento. But we're doing it mostly for the long term buff, because you only have to pick up 30 trophies to get an extra 30% weapon damage, 30% skill efficiency, and 3% armor regeneration. Yes guys, this build on a max stacks can get 6% armor regeneration a second, guys. And this is so freaking beautiful. It is hard for the enemies to take you down. They need a whole group of enemies to take you down. Of course, we have our foam to foam underground. So maybe 1 or 2 enemies of that group are aggroing you. The rest is just focused to get out of that foam. And you can take out groups of enemies pretty damn easy. There is a lot of survivability and of course a lot of damage output as well. But yeah guys, this is the build. So the overview of the build, I went for 1 Bellstone for the 1 armor regeneration. I went for Sokolov of course for the 10% SMG damage. I went for double Golan for another extra 1% armor regeneration. I went for the named knee pads of Murakami for another 1% armor regeneration. And then of course went for the Memento. Again for those extra cores that we will get. And of course for that extra 3% armor regeneration, boosting this build up to 6% armor regeneration. So let's jump over to the stats and let's see what the base stats are. We are running around with 47% critical hit chance. Like I explained, I would love to see that extra 10% headshot damage away for some critical hit chance. So we will have that 53% critical hit chance again. Next to that, we have 122% critical hit damage, and of course 80% headshot damage because we're getting an extra 10% headshot damage from our chest. Then over to the defense, of course. Close to that 1.5 million armor. That gives us close to that 150 armor on kill throughout our gunner specialization. That gives us that 10% armor on kill. And for the base build, we have the 63, almost 64k armor regeneration. And this already helps you out a lot. But guys, let's jump over to the other stats. If we have the full stacks of our memento, we can hit a lot harder and of course have a lot more armor regeneration. So let's jump over to the stats when this build is on full effect. And there we are at the stats on full stacks. And as you can see, we're almost hitting for 124k if our memento is fully procced. This is a lot of damage output. And of course, next to that, let's jump over to one of the most important things, of course, and that is the armor regeneration. And as you can see, it's still the same on the armor, it's still the same on the armor on kill, but look at this armor regeneration, guys. 108k a second. So in combination with that armor on kill, if you take somebody out, you're almost getting 150k armor back. But every single second you run around, every single second that you have your memento at full proc, you're getting 108k armor regeneration a second, guys. This is so freaking beautiful. Running around, still doing a decent amount of damage. 3 weapon damage cores, we still do a decent amount of damage for that 1.5 million. And the crazy survivability that we have on this build. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I had a lot of questions to make a build that has a lot more survivability. And man, this is so much fun. You can build it in a few different ways, but we tested it out a lot on stream. A friend of mine, Mer, aka Prof, asked me to make a build or show him a build for, of course, the armor regeneration. He wanted an armor regeneration build, so we started working on stream, testing things out, and in our opinion, this is one of the best ways to go, especially with the combination of the Lady Death and then the memento. But let me know in the comments down below how you made this build, or what kind of armor regeneration build are you making. I'm working on a few more because I know the community loves these builds. Getting that survivability in and of course that decent amount of weapon damage. So hit me up in the comments down below. But that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to smash that like button and hit that subscribers button. And of course the notification bell. PurePrime out.